we are live, I think.
All right.
Hello.
Nice. Hello.
I've been chasing the one and only Tony Wright, balanced tennis. I've been chasing you down for so long. Just be on a podcast with me, bruh. Like, what? Come on. And here we are. We did it.
Here we are. It was easier for me to fly to New York and hang on the grounds with you than to actually get on a podcast.
True story. True story. But before we jump into this episode, Tony, introduce yourself. Who are you? Introduce yourself.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Tony Wright. I'll start with, in real life, I'm a tennis coach. I coach tennis full-time, Newport Beach. Online, I am Balanced Tennis on Instagram. I make memes, cover the news, everything that goes on in tennis. I am on it, basically, or at least I try to be. Did a podcast with my buddy named Ian. That kind of was my intro into the podcast space. And that's, I feel like, how we know each other. And yeah, I am just a tennis fanatic since I picked up a racket when I was 12, and I kind of never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, you're big time now. I hear you got a promotion.
I did, yeah. So I am now the head pro at my tennis club, which basically means I run all the tennis for the club. So pretty exciting. It's kind of crazy for me to, like, I don't know, feel like I'm in charge of the club now in the sense because I just grew up playing at a park. But it happened. Right place, right time. And I'm super stoked for it.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's like really, really, really cool. So you're in Newport Beach. And before we jump in, I mean, I think us being stateside here, it's impossible to not comment on the fires that are happening right now in California. I remember texting you and being like, are you okay? Like, are you in the path?
Right.
And luckily you're fine, and you're still fine. You're not anywhere near it. Yeah.
I'm recording a podcast outside. So yeah, just because I'm happy to be outside because I've just been indoors for the past couple of days. Yeah, Orange County, luckily, has been totally fine. It's just been crazy. We've gotten the winds. But for example, 2 nights ago, there was a fire that started on my freeway exit, which is like a half mile from where I'm at. But they put it out basically immediately. There was, it was calm at that point. But just going through my feed, and I know everyone or a bunch of people in the LA tennis scene, and just going through stories and seeing like, oh, this person lost their home or this tennis club doesn't exist anymore. It's awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, luckily over here, it just been like, hey, stay indoors. It's windy. Air quality is not good. Today's better. And we're supposed to get a little bit more wind, I think, over the weekend, but nothing like what we experienced earlier. Some of the fires are still going on. It's sad. It's something where it's like, we knew this was always a possibility, but it finally happened, and just it's devastating.
Yeah, it is really devastating. And what I will do is I'll leave some resources in the description of the show note of this episode. If you want to help out, there are numerous ways that you can. So I'll leave all that information below. And I hope we can sort of, if you're in that area, give you a little bit of relief with talking about the tennis, which I have you on today, Tony, to talk about the draw, the Australian Open draw. Now, for everyone who has listened to this podcast knows, and if you haven't, just a quick description, Ground Pass is a tennis podcast for the casuals. Not everybody that listens to us knows what the draw is, how it works. So we go into the sort of basics of what these terms are. We once had an episode about scoring, which is still to today one of our most listened to episodes, because we were like, wait, 40 who now?
It's crazy. So, yes.
People just don't know, which is fine. It is okay not to know. We are here to help.
Of course.
So we're going to jump in. The Australian Open draw was released. What was that? Yesterday? What is time?
Seriously, probably could have been yesterday. Yeah, it's all kind of blended together this week. It begins tomorrow. I don't know when this gets released, but it is Friday afternoon, and matches begin tomorrow.
Which is, you know what? So let's, because it's my job on the podcast to complain about time zones. The Australian Open is rough. It is rough. I kind of think, though, California, like your time zone, is almost perfect.
Yes.
Let's just start for you at 4 p.m.?
I was having this conversation in DMs the other day. AO is maybe the most ideal for Pacific time, because a lot of the times the day sessions, it'll be like 4 or 5, maybe 6, but like I can basically go about my day, get home at night, catch day session, and then it's just up to how late do I want to stay up, to where if I want to stay up till 2, 3 in the morning, I could literally watch day and night session, get a couple hours of sleep, go to work, and then just do it again the next day. So it is the most ideal, because when they get to Europe, then you're looking at matches like around noon my time. So it gets a little bit tricky. But for those of us on the West Coast, it's not bad. You just have to be willing to stay up.
Yeah. East Coast is like matches are starting, 6 p.m., 7. So you're getting a few matches in before you're sort of like, do I do this? Do I stay up all night and all morning? Because sometimes I wake up to the tennis. I wake up, 5, 6 a.m. and tennis is still happening, especially in the first few weeks where there are so many matches going on. But let's quickly break down a little bit what the draw is. So for, listeners, the draw is basically the schedule of how the tournament is going to run. So most tournaments are based on a knockout round, like a knockout basic, like that's how they're kind of like, you progress through the tournament. I think we talked about when we're doing like ATP and WTA finals round robin, which is a different way to build a draw, but most draws are knockout, rounds basically.
You lose, you're out. March Madness.
Exactly. You lose, you're out. I kind of like round robin sometimes, though. I think it does work because, again, like you said, you lose, you're out. If you're one of like the, if you're a big, name and you lose first round of the draw, that's it for the tournament. Goodbye. They've lost their big star for the tournament. And that, I think, is it's kind of the risk of the draw.
Those are the stakes. Every match, you got to win 7 to win, and you could go down any match. So yeah, it raises the stakes. And yeah, for most of us mortals, casual players, if you sign up for a tournament, usually it is a round robin, or there's a back draw, which is just basically everyone that loses in the first round goes into a separate draw, and you get, 2, 3 matches in a weekend. But Grand Slam tennis and most of these tournaments, one and done.
One and done. And it can just be as easy as that. Now, in the Grand Slams, the most number of players play the Grand Slam. So the draw consists on each side of 128 players. 104 of those are the top 104 players in the ranking. 16 of those are people who qualify into the tournament, and 8 of those are wild cards. So that's what makes your draw. Now, I remember when I was still a baby tennis fan, I used to like look at draws and you would see the W or the Q next to someone's name. And back then I was like, okay, cool, that guy's going to lose.
Yeah.
How wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know who you're going to get in those W's. I mean, the W's, the wild cards can kind of be, it depends, especially in a lot of what happens in these big Grand Slams for people who don't know is, wild cards, they're usually from the country that the Grand Slam is happening in. So there are tons of Australian wild cards, for example, in this draw. They're young players, junior players. So the likelihood of them making a big run, it's not none, but it's very slim.
Right.
Qualifiers, on the other hand, could be anyone. Yep. Remember Emma Raducanu? She was a qualifier.
Whoa, you read my mind. I was about to throw that out there. Nice.
Yeah. But that's how it can happen. That qualifier won the US Open a few years ago. So never look at those draws and be like, Q. And I hear it all the time. Like I go to tournaments, I hear it all the time, and people are looking at the draw and they see the Q and they're like, oh, that person's going to lose.
Yep. And I don't know if you've gotten into what qualifying is before in the past, but basically you have to win, I think it's 3 matches. It depends if you're seeded or not, but 3 matches. So a qualifier could just be hot. Somebody coming in with 3 matches already under their belt, with the balls, on the courts, everything, they're dialed in, and you're playing against a player that doesn't have 3 matches already under their belt. So yeah, it's not a given that, a seed is going to beat a qualifier.
Yeah, no. And, I think something we hear also a lot on the streets, on the internet, on the streets, and in the stands is, the draw's rigged.
Oh, man. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
draw is rigged. How are draws, like for example, you're in a club and you guys do like mini tournaments and stuff like
Oh
that,
yeah.
right?
It's my
How are
job.
draws actually done for a level like yours?
Recreationally, around the club, I would do it in a way to where, because I kind of know everyone and I know the levels, and I can, even if I don't, I can go back in the past and be like, all right, well, you know what? Let's not have, Frank and Tim play in the first round because they can probably make the final. So yes, I would say around the club, full discretion. It's to my discretion. It's a little rigged.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But here's the thing. Here's the thing though. What you just said is exactly what happens in these Grand Slam events because, for example, you're never going to get the number 1 and number 2 player playing
correct.
in first round, So the way it works is in the draw, in the 128 people, 32 of them are seeded. And seeded means basically they're the top 32 players in that draw. It's not their ranking though, right?
It should
basically the top 32.
I think it's based off of their ranking. I know each slam can be slightly different because I know in the past Wimbledon has kind of seeded it like their own way.
Yeah.
But Wimbledon does a lot of things their own way. But I think it is by the ranking because let's say I was looking at it, Novak is a 7 seed. And if they were just making the decision, based on history, he would always be the 1 seed. So I think that at least this time around, they went straight up through the rankings.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I think there was a little bit of a kerfuffle that time when Wimbledon I can't remember the exact who they did it to, but they seeded someone who wasn't in that ranking at all. I have to look it up. I'll put it in the show notes if I can find it. But basically, I mean, it's based on ranking, except for example, if Novak, he is in the draw, but if he had withdrawn for some reason, I believe they just kind of shift everyone up to make sure they get to like the 32. So sometimes it doesn't really match their ranking, but it is pretty much what their ranking is.
That's where you get like an LL, one of those other letters that you would see in a draw where somebody that lost in qualifying but made it to the 3rd round or lost in the 3rd round, they get shifted into it and they're in the main draw. But so that's how they have a system that's in place of like, okay, we don't get everyone on the same, and I'm sure we'll get deeper into it, but there was a possibility that we had Sinner, Alcaraz, and Novak in the same like half, and thankfully didn't happen because that could have been just a mess. But
see, that's how you know it's not rigged, guys. That's the thing. That's how you know it's not rigged. Anyway.
Right? Yeah, thank goodness.
But so that's pretty much how it's done. So the seeded players are scattered across, the draw, like the whole sheet. Number 1 and number 2 are on opposite ends of the draw. So these are things you'll hear if you're watching it or anything like that. Like number 1 and number 2 on opposite ends of the draw. And then 3 and 4 are placed randomly on one of those sides. So sometimes 1 and 3 are together, or maybe it's 4 and 3 are together. It's kind of randomly done. And for the most part, draws are now done by computer. It's all computer generated, random, like algorithms just pull names out of a digital hat basically and make these draws. ChatGPT is making all the draws, guys. I kid. Let's not cause some
I'm
chaos.
just kidding.
But I've actually been to, so last year, I'm the sort of person who, the draw for me, it's random. I'm like, it is what it is. Number 1, number 2 are far away from each other. I've never had the sort of, because there's some people who are out, they're watching the live stream of the draw. They're waiting for the draw to come out. And I've always just been like, let me know when it's out. I'll use it mostly to build my schedule, which we'll go into in a little bit. But I attended, if you hear that, it's New York, guys. A lot. There's always a siren happening. But there's I went to the Cincinnati Open, and I didn't even know they were doing this, but I go there and it's fan few days. Like they have basically like a fan weekend. And all of a sudden on the announcement in the fan area, they're sort of like, we're going to do the live draw now. And I'm like, what? Yeah. So they actually made it part of their fan week, like in their fan area, fan zone. Everyone sat down. There's a big screen. They brought out players and they were picking names out of a hat, or I think it was like the trophy itself. And they were like picking like,
nice.
little chips out of it with numbers and calling it fun. I was like,
oh, that's cool.
They made it into a fan event, and I was like, oh, this is cute. Like, I'd never actually been that interested, and I just being part of it and like being there at the tournament, I was like, oh, this is fun. So
that's pretty cool.
Food for thought. I wonder if like Grant's. So did you watch any of the video? Did you see, like, even if it was the clips and stuff? So I saw some of the clips of the Australian Open draw, and it seemed like there was like a parade. And,
really?
Yeah. Like I saw this clip of like Yannick Sinner and Irina Sabalenka, who were the champions last year, bringing in the trophy, but then they were walking down a line to a band playing Beyonce's Crazy in Love.
No way. Whoa. Okay, so that's where those pictures came from, where they had the jackets and the trophies.
Where they had the jackets.
Yes. Okay, so that's what that was.
They brought it in to this like stage area, and then they did the draw, and I was like,
it did look like a parade. Yeah.
I was like, is this a parade? So I wonder if, and I don't know if there were any sort of fans in the area who could watch and listen, but that reminded me of the thing in Cincinnati where I was like, it could become an event for fans if they wanted to check it out.
I know Indian Wells does that. I haven't attended, but I know. Okay. Yeah, because I've been out there's practice sessions like a couple days before the tournament starts, and I know I've just seen it on the agenda for the day. Like one of the times when I was there, it was like where they unveiled the mural. So they had Taylor Fritz because he won at the year previous, and then they do the draw ceremony.
I see.
So I don't know if everyone does that, but I know some of them do, and there's a little bit of fanfare, and it's just something for people to do and see. And the Taylor Fritz one at Indian Wells, it looked cool. Yeah. And then this one at Australian Open sounds cool. I mean, I posted the pictures mainly just because of the Nike jackets that I saw, the custom stuff, but I didn't know that's where that was from. So that's good to know.
Yeah, that's where it was from. It was pretty interesting. I was like, this could really be a thing where these tournaments like actually turn it into a full on like fan event, which I feel like it's fun. You know, people get excited about draws and, you know, who's playing who, and, you know, it can get crazy, which brings us to this specific draw, the Australian Open draw. Have you seen the draw?
Yes, not extensively, but yes, I've got, obviously the posts have come out of like, you know, this player versus this player, things to watch and stuff like that. So yeah, there's some spicy matchups. I feel like in the past there's been more of them, especially looking at like the schedule. I was looking at the schedule for tomorrow, and I was like, oh, okay, like, I don't know, like, I think Sunday and Monday might be the days, but yeah, there's, you know, it's the pressure of like, you lose and you're out, so it's it's heavy.
It is a lot. And so let's talk about it, because even though you're right, there are definitely some other draws where the first rounds have been like, whoa, especially in this time, I feel, where they're like, a lot of players coming back. Maybe we got this a lot more last year. Like, for example, French Open, where we had Nadal and Zverev. Wow. Never forget that first round. Nadal versus Zverev. Like, why? Guys, this is why seeded players are separated in the first.
Yep.
Because that was not fun. Or we had Naomi Osaka. I think this was actually second round, but there was Naomi Osaka, Iga Swiatek there as well. So some of these, when you have players like that, like Naomi, Nadal, who have dropped in their ranking, but they're coming back, sometimes the first round can be a little bit chaotic, but I think we still have some that I want to like hit up on the ATP right away. You know, and maybe this is because I went to Challenger and I interviewed him. So I have a little bit of a soft spot for Mishesh Basavireddy.
Whoa.
He won the USTA wild card to the Australian Open by winning a bunch of challengers, like getting a bunch of points basically and winning a challenger at the end of last year. He pulls Djokovic in the first round.
I know. That's tough.
I can't. It's really tough. But I've been looking into him. Now, I didn't actually know this when I interviewed him. I had no idea, but people call him like Baby Djokovic, which I didn't I
The
didn't.
comp is real.
Is it? Is it
Yes.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it around. I watched Nishesh play. I think they're in Auckland, the ASB
Yes.
Classic. I was on TV at the club and I was watching a bit, and like it's real. I mean, obviously that's a very high that's a very high standard, but
Yeah.
it's similar. So yeah, and I remember, so Nishesh came on my radar, I think pre Indian Wells, because Novak and him practiced somewhere in LA on a private court. And I saw that and I was like, oh, wow, like this kid, and I think he plays for UCLA. So I saw them practicing. There were some points that were just put online and I was like, wow, this kid looks legit. And lo and behold, he went for it on the Challenger Tour and now he gets a real match against Novak. So it's crazy.
Wow. I did not realize that. No, again, I interviewed him and I just thought,
that's
here's
awesome.
This, 19-year-old at a challenger. And at the time, his main focus was that he was he was in the running for next gen. And he made it, he made it to next gen and I was super excited for him. So this is quite he just turned pro. He played next gen and then his next tournament was Auckland. And here he is. I think he made it to the semis and he lost to Gael Monfils. And then his next match on the big stage is with Novak. He's going to be playing at sort of probably, what is that? The biggest arena? Is it the Kia? Not the Kia. I think it's Rod Laver. He's going to be playing on Rod Laver Arena. Yeah.
It's insane. That's Novak's court. Like that's right. Like that's a tough ask. But
yeah,
I think in those situations, it's like, I'm sure he kind of knows, all right, I've got it against me, but it's just like, enjoy the moment. This is
right. Like, exactly.
Who knows? I mean, because he's obviously going to be a pro for a very long time, but not everyone gets to play on Laver, right? If you're, 36 in the world or something like that, you don't get to play there until you make like the quarters or something like that. So it'll be a huge opportunity for him and just a lot of exposure.
Big opportunity for him. That is definitely one match I'm going to watch, Please,
100%.
Time zone gods, help a sister out.
I'm trying to
think. But I'll stay up for it. I think I'll just stay up for it, like no matter what.
Yeah, I'm trying to think historically what Novak does in the early rounds. If it's day session or night session. He does nights, right?
I feel like it's a night, and
it's
that's like...
Yeah.
3 a.m. in the morning.
That's a tough one. That might be take a nap at 8 p.m. and wake up at 3.
And then wake up for it. Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Okay. What else are we looking for? I mean, weirdly, we said in the beginning of this that, they're not that many.
There's kind of a lot.
Brooksby?
Ooh, not bad. Not bad. Brooksby we haven't seen for a while, but there was, I think it was 2 years ago, Brooksby made a run at the AO. So he's familiar and he's won some pretty big matches. I remember, I think he beat Casper Ruud on his way to maybe the 4th round or the quarters. I can't remember, but I remember that was a big kind of coming out party for him. He's no stranger to big moments down there, so could happen. Fritz has been Mr. Consistent for the US, kind of leading the way, so we'll see.
We'll see. No, that's a good one. And then speaking of, let's just deal with the Americans right now because I don't know what happened with this draw. It's rigged. Okay, it's not rigged, but we have Shelton Nakashima. Only for them. Shelton Nakashima is like, come on.
That's crazy because Nakashima is like 36 in the world. He's a top 40 player.
Yeah.
And so is Shelton, I think. He's got to be. I don't know where he's at.
Shelton is what? He's in the 20s now or something?
Yeah. So that's just like where up. That's why these tournaments that lead into a Grand Slam are so important because it's just if you're on the cusp like these guys, if you have a chance to actually get like a higher seed and you don't have to play against someone else in the top 40 in the first round, that's huge because that's a tough one. Yeah,
that's a tough draw.
I don't know. Shelton got upset last year early in the AO against Manarino. Obviously, Nakashima's a very different player than Manarino, but yeah, that's a brutal. That might be a bloodbath for the Americans.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I'm feeling 5 sets with that one.
Oh yeah.
Countrymen playing each other. Giovanni Mpeshi Pericard and Gael Monfils.
Man. Yeah.
Rough.
I saw a thing that made me feel so old. It was, I think Monfils is the oldest player in the top whatever he's in, and I was like, man, he was the kid when I was like learning tennis like dang, like, yeah. And Pesci Perry card is, well, we kind of saw it already earlier in the year of like, doesn't matter who he's playing against, what his seed is, he's going to be in every set with his serve, and he just needs a look at a break, or maybe not even that, just, a couple points in a tie break. So that's a tough one. That's another,
Yeah. That's a tough one. I really like him. Like, we go through the whole serve bot thing. I think he's definitely more than that, but his whole attitude is so zen.
Yes.
Like, there doesn't seem to be any sort of like fist pumping or just like, I'm gonna serve it out. Like that's his
Truly.
whole his whole like demeanor. And I'm like, yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are.
Truly.
And then the last one on the men's side that I kind of was like, man, rough. Mm-hmm. Speaking of qualifiers, Joao Fonseca qualified for the Australian Open. Guess who he gets first round?
Rublev. That's tough. I know. Fonseca came on my radar just because I, affiliated with On, and I was just curious as to like who are they sponsoring outside of Shelton.
That's right, guys. Tony Wright is an On athlete.
Officially On ambassador. Technically unofficially this year because the contract is over, but to be honest, I love their stuff. I'll probably run it back if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my stuff now.
You're wearing
unintended, just because I'm coming straight from the tennis court and I'm going back for more later. But yeah, proof that I do wear the stuff. Thank you, On. But anyway, so Zhao came on the radar just because I was like, who is this? And shout out to them for their recruiting team, because they picked up Ben Shelton basically when he first became pro, and now they have Fonseca, who it looks like the sky's the limit with him. But yeah, made it through qualies. Rublev, also another Mr. Consistent when it comes to the slams, like at least getting to the quarters. He has his moments on court. It's weird. It's gotten worse.
It's gotten worse. Yeah.
It's gotten worse.
I haven't actually watched him in a long time because I'm always like, I'm bracing myself for the like meltdown, and I don't like that. So I just haven't watched him in a long time. And this one, it's like, I really want to see Joao's first match, but I'm just like, if he starts winning, I don't know if I can take it. Like, I don't know if I can handle Rublev's meltdown if 100%. Joao starts winning. So that's going to be a rough one. That's going to be a TBD. Maybe I just watch the replay.
Yeah. I always made a point for the past couple of years to go watch Rublev play, because it's just so amazing to watch him just nail forehands. But the past couple of years, I'm like, you know what? I can't do it. Like, I'm going there to have fun. I don't want to leave with a stomach ulcer. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that match, because that was at the top of my list of like, okay, this could be something. And I was talking about it with a member. I think I'm not a gambler, but like the betting odds are pretty close, because on paper, Rublev should win that technically on paper, right? But it's going to be close.
I think it's going to be really, really close. Like, Joao's on fire. He hasn't lost a match since Next Gen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like something
so that's a lot of matches.
In a row or something.
Yeah, he played Next Gen, then he played a Challenger, and then he went into qualifying. Hasn't lost a match. So the guy's on fire. Okay, let's hit up the WTA side. And we're getting Goff Kenin, for the fourth time. How many times have they? I feel like every Grand Slam they're playing
too often.
The first round.
I know. Yeah.
It's too much. Let's not do that again, guys.
I know. Kenin, a former AO champion or finalist, right?
Yeah.
She won it, I believe.
She won it. Yes.
Pretty sure she did.
Yeah.
And had some injury troubles, but is always just dangerous. She's always good for an upset or two every year. Coco's Coco. She looked great. There was, what was it? The United Cup, her and Iga. That match was incredible. Did you get to watch that?
Which one?
Coco and Iga, like last week, United Cup.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So
amazing. And I feel like she's on fire right now, guys. Just saying. I don't know what, because I remember I follow her on Instagram, and I was seeing all of her kind of off-season training videos where she was doing like a lot of track, a lot of running, a lot of like sort of fitness. And I just thought, interesting. And then she shows up at the United Cup like that. I was like, it's over. It's over
tinkering,
for all
Yeah, I saw some posts that showing her grip on her serve. She's tinkering with a few things, which is really cool to see. Because, like, I mean, people at the club, I'm like, hey, can you try to fix this? You'll get a little bit more. And they're like, no, I don't want to lose anything in my game. And it's like, dude, Coco Gauff won the U.S. Open, a year and a half ago, and she's still tinkering with her game. So you should probably be able to do it too. So yeah, excited for that. Excited to see what happens there.
I actually love that. That's like a good lesson for everyone. Always be working, always be learning. Like, let's do that. And by the way, Kenin did win the Australian Open in 2020. I thought she did. So yeah. Okay, so what else?
Osaka Garcia.
Another repeat. Like a repeat from last year's Australian Open. Not even like last year's Australian Open. Can we not, guys?
It's tough. Yeah. Garcia hasn't had like a huge result in a while, but like people forget she was in the top 10 2 years ago. Always dangerous. Osaka had to withdraw from the final. I think it was, I don't remember where, maybe New Zealand.
She did win that set. Yeah.
Yeah, she won the set and then was like, yeah, sorry, can't finish it. So that's a little scary. So that kind of feels up for grabs as well. But yeah, that's another repeat, which is like, okay. Ideally, we don't do that again. But yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, no, hoping she gets through that. And then the last two couple, another kind of like the Americans, I don't know what happened with the draw with us guys, but Navarro and Stearns, first round.
College matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. That's like, I don't even know I don't know, because Navarro, she's been playing okay. I think she had some early losses, like just in like the early tournaments. And then Stearns is just a fighter, man. Like, she is gritty. If no one has seen or watched Peyton Stearns play tennis, man, I mean, you get behind her because she is going after it. I will never forget. What was it? It was Indian Wells, Peyton Stearns, Sabalenka.
I was there. Yeah.
That was
great. That was great. I was able to sneak down for some like really good seats for that. And yeah, that was my introduction to Peyton Stearns. And I was like, okay, like we're keeping track of you from now on.
Right. Yeah, I love people who play with energy. She plays with her whole body. She's I will win this match.
Yeah. And then Navarro on the other side is just as stoic as can be. Obviously there's effort there, but just straight up like no emotion.
Emotion, nothing's happening. And then the last one for me, I don't know if you had any other WTAs, and this is, I want to say this is definitely a hipster matchup if there ever was one.
Okay.
But it's Yelena Ostapenko and Belinda Bencic. Mine.
Yes.
Just like, because Bencic has come back. She's back playing well. Like, she's like, oh, I'm back. Cool. And then Ostapenko is so...
You never know.
You never know. You never know what you're going to get with her. And I don't know. I'm looking at, if anyone asks me, upset alert, I'm like, that's the one. That's the one I'm picking.
Yeah, Bencic is great. She's back, by the way, from being a mom, recent mom. Yeah. So actually, Ostapenko, funny you mentioned, I just popped on the TV the other night, was hanging out with my wife, and she was down like 0-4 in the first set. My wife was like, oh, wow, like, well, she's done. And Ostapenko just started slapping return winners, got back. She lost a set 4-6, but I was like, watch, she's going to win this match. And yeah, it was like 6-0, 6-2 the next two sets, and she won the match in like another like 45 minutes after losing this. So it's like you literally never know. Not rubbed some people the wrong way on court with a few things, but I had a chance to interview her back at San Diego Open, and she's so nice. Like, she's super I asked her about her baking page, and she was like so cool about it, because I thought it was like,
that's the thing too. Question. She has so many. If you don't follow Ostapenko, she has a baking page. She also has like now a fashion closet page.
Yes.
And she I don't know, she's like a full person. And I think sometimes people see, the on-court stuff, and I'm like, I think sometimes we need to give players grace on court, because a lot of times being that competitive and losing or like trying to fight for a win, sometimes it's not cute. You can't always be when that's
yeah.
when
Yeah.
that is happening.
Yeah, you're going to spaz out sometimes. Like, it's going to happen, even at a recreational level. But yeah, that was one that I had for sure, because I'm always watching whatever Ostapenko's doing.
So anyway, those are some first round matches that, guys, if you're not, put it on your list. I think those at least will give you some entertainment. But now we're going to go into kind of, okay, so we have all these matches. If you do the math, it's a lot of I think I counted the schedule for Sunday, and there are close to 40 matches happening. If you are attending, there is no way you can see 40 matches, nor is there a way that you can watch on TV 40 matches, even though I am going to give people a little sneak peek at what I do when I'm watching matches. For you, because when I go to the US Open, I'm lucky enough that that is my home tournament, so I go to it a lot. And early on, I mean, I would definitely go a bit crazy trying to see every Tom, Dick, and Harry that was playing tennis that day. And I wouldn't have a plan. I would just run around oh, there, oh, there, oh, there. And you're just running around. But for you, do you have a strategy or a plan at all when you're going to these tournaments, especially in the early rounds, and there's just so much to see? And we're not even talking about the events and the fun stuff and they're doing a dance over there, just the tennis.
Right. We're talking about being on the grounds in person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, you totally could just float around and do your own thing, but at least for me, I feel like I need to be there. I need to be in the best seat possible. So I'm looking at the schedule. Every tournament usually, or major tournament, has an app, and sometimes you have to wait until 6 p.m. the night before, but all of the times, the locations of the courts will be listed. So I'm looking at, the schedule, the court, maybe even I pull up the legend of the ground, so I know how far is this a doable walk to get from here to there. So yeah, that's one of the few times, personally, I don't plan too much of my life, but that's one of the few times that I'm on it, because I want to maximize the value of what I get out of that day. So 100%, I if there's a lot going on, I have a plan. And then sometimes the plan falls apart. A match, is straight sets, and you look at you look at what's happening across the grounds, and there's one that heads to a fifth set. So it's you know what? Let me get over there and see what's going on.
Right.
But yeah, I like to plan it.
No, I like you for the most of my life. I wake up, I'm like, what am I doing today? I do not plan as much, but what I have learned going to tennis tournaments, you have to plan, and then plan again.
Yes.
Give yourself options. And what I will do now is I'm going to share the schedule for, hopefully the technology works. Please, technology, work. But I'm going to share the schedule for Sunday. Guys, my brain is working as I'm doing this, because I'm like, Sunday, but it's Saturday here.
Ooh, true. Sunday in Australia.
Sunday in Australia.
Local.
Okay, here we go. Here it is. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. Yeah, it's going to do it. Okay. Entire screen, window, boom, share. Can you see that? Yes.
Oh, no way. I didn't even know you could do that. Amazing.
Look at that technology.
Yeah.
But this is the actual schedule for Sunday, January 12th, day one of the Australian Open. I cannot believe we're here. I really feel like
Seriously.
Just were here, but we're back. We're back again. Anyway. So this is the schedule, and I just wanted to show people what it looks like for the most part. So, you get all of the, the courts. It's divvied by the court, and then you get the times. You kind of have to maybe blow it up a little bit, but you can see the times and when play starts on each court. Now, you might be thinking, what are these blue, green circles and red circles? I like to color code stuff because it's visual for me. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's what I want to do. a lot of times at the tournaments, and I just actually looked, the Australian Open gates open an hour and a half before play starts.
Oh, that's good.
And if you're going on a ground pass, there are no assigned seats. So I always suggest, especially, just come early. There's always stuff to do on the grounds of Grand Slam. There's, like I said, someone's playing games over there. There's music over there. There's food. It's an atmosphere. It's definitely something, if you're taking the day, you might as well come early. And a lot of times, too, if you come early, a lot of players are practicing before the start. So you can catch like practices happening and stuff. Most Grand Slams, if not all, they have their practice schedules on their apps or on their website. So you can go there. What I will do in the show notes of this episode is I will link where you can get the schedule for practices and for the matches as well. So you can just click on it and go straight to those pages. But what I like to do is there are just so many matches. There's so many. And there are always players that I'm like, oh, I want to see that. I want to see that. Or I just want to see their form. Like, I might not even be interested in who they're playing per se. But for example, if you look at this, I have Riley Opelka's match circled. All due respect to his opponent, I'm good. I don't need to see him play, but I haven't seen Riley Opelka play in a while. So if I'm at the Australian Open in Melbourne, that's a match that I'm going to go to. So what I do is matches that I want to see, I circle in green. Matches that I have to see, no matter what, I circle in red.
Nice.
So that's my criteria. And this day is actually pretty doable for me in a way. I've had other schedules where almost every line is circled. And I'm just like, that's when I started doing the different colors, because there was, I can't remember, I think it was one of the days of the US Open, and I mean, everything was circled. It was just bad. And I was like, no. What do you have to see and what would be nice to see?
Right.
Also, I wanted to know if you do this. Grand Slam tennis, especially on the men's side, is 5 sets. That could go anywhere from 3 to 5 hours.
Yes.
Are you a pick one court and sit there the whole time, or do you wander?
That's the ideal for me. If there is a court in particular that's popping off, I'll try to post up, because that's like, I've done it in the past at Indian Wells. Shout out to court 3. That's usually popping to where it's like, okay, that's the easiest. If I get there an hour and a half early, I'll get in there. I'll make friends with the usher and be like, hey, I'm Tony, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to leave my stuff here. I'm going to go use the restroom. So you can kind of get in and out nicely. And then if the schedule's right, I'll post up the whole day there. I've done that in the past. But sometimes kind of like this, I don't color code it. But if there's just one match that I want to see there, then it's like, it just makes sense to float around. But yeah, I'll try to stay on one, but same thing. Grand Slam's different. I remember when I was at the US Open, it was kind of like, all right, it was Dominic Thiem and Bublik opened things up on, I think it was Grandstand, but there was a couple other like WTA matches that I was interested in seeing. So it's like, okay, I'm going to stay here for 2 sets. If they split, I'm going to maybe stay. If it's 2 sets to love, I'm out of here. So it's tough between the 5 sets and the best of 3. But if I can, I'll try to post up for the day. And like I said, make friends with the usher to where it's like, all right, I'm going to leave my stuff here. I'm going to go get food. I'll be right back. I promise. And usually that works out.
No, I completely agree. I'm the sort of person, like, for example, if you look at my schedule here where it's like pretty much at the same time-ish, again, this is tennis, tough. Guys. One match is going to go 45 minutes and then the other match is going to go 7 hours. You just have to kind of keep track on it. That's why I would say download the app of the Grand Slam you're going to or the tournament you're going to, because then it'll have live scores on there. Yes. And you can kind of keep track. So okay, this match is going to be the match before the one you want to watch. It's going to be over and maybe they have 2 games, 3 games, whatever it is, and you can start heading over there. I always swear by this at the US Open because it is crowded.
Oh my goodness.
Last year, anyone, if you haven't been yet, that there's like a trio of courts that are kind of like, I think it's the kind of, it's like 6, 7, 8, and they're like all in a line. I mean, packed. Just, so those were the courts where it's like, oh, you had to like come, grab your spot and just be like, this is going to be it. And I think it was either court 5 or court 6. And there was just one day of banger after banger after banger. And you just was like, okay, great. This is where I'm going to spend my time at the Open today. But sometimes, you have to move around and stuff. And when it comes to the men's matches, I do what you do. I kind of do the first 2 sets. If they split, I'm like, okay, I have time. Because they still have 2 more sets. They have to play 2 more sets no matter what. And then I'll wander over. It's harder to do on the women's, matches because it's best of 3. And it's kind of like it might be over in 2, It might not always go to a third. So I just gauge it and see. Same thing with the women. If they split the sets, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to go. But you can't go far because if you want to see the results of it, they only have 1 more set to go and you have to like be nearby or, things like that. So that's kind of how I run the schedule, like on a day like this, which is a Sunday, they're not, like you said, I think you said you looked at the schedule and you were like, day 1's probably not going to be it. So for this day specifically, it's a lot of players. I just want to see their form. So Mira Andreeva is playing, Riley Opelka is playing, Thomas Mahak is playing. Like, I want to see what they're like versus the matchup per se.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That's like, I think that's Davidovich Fokina circled. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, that's a player.
That's actually, if I was going to post up, that's the match. Jerry Shang and ADF, come on.
Exactly.
I can see it now. Fireworks.
And Foki is someone that like, I just love his technique and like his athleticism. And he's someone that like, it's almost like it doesn't really matter who he's playing against. This is just an added bonus that this is going to be a banger. But it's just, he's someone that's same where it's like, I just want to see him play tennis. Like, it doesn't really matter who he's going to play against. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, hey, you guys can use this method or not. It's kind of how we do it. But, I have to say, plan. If you're going to these things, because 1, it's going to be packed, guaranteed. There are going to be tons of people around, tons of people trying to get onto these courts. And, we're talking to ground passers, people who are going to these tournaments on a ground pass. So Rod Laver Arena, Margaret Court Arena, you need a ticket to go into those stadiums. So you can kind of take those off a little bit. As a ground passer, there are tons. You can get into John Cain Arena. There's sections of it that are accessible to ground pass holders. Kia Arena as well. You can get on there with the ground pass. So it's all about planning where you want to go. And guess what? I know sometimes we say Jerry Shang and like ADF. Are they the biggest names per se? No, but you'll be surprised. Those are the matches that are packed because I feel like there are a lot of really knowledgeable tennis people out there now where they're not just going there to see if, Carlos Alcaraz is playing or Jannik Sinner is playing. You'd be surprised that's probably going to be a packed match. So plan ahead and go for it.
Right. When I was watching qualifiers on TV the other night, I was telling my wife, like I know something that people don't know. I was like, oh, this kid, João Fonseca, like nobody really knows yet. And like we turn it on and like the stadium, it's like an outside court, but it's packed. And I was like, oh, actually, everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah. But I love to see that where like, people know, because I've been other places where it was at Indian Wells, Sabalenka was practicing, and I just hear a conversation behind me like, who's that? And it's like, oh, she looks pretty good. I don't know. Maybe she'll be somebody someday. And it's like, dude, she's like number 1 in the world. What are you talking about? Like, it's like, dude. So I've heard that on the other end, but yeah, not great. And when that happens, it's just like, all right, cool. I'm, glad that you're here at least.
Cracking up because I have heard those conversations so many times where you're just like, wait, who are you talking about?
Right? Yeah.
It cannot be her or him or whoever. It cannot be.
Right.
But yeah, so it's kind of like I say plan ahead. Now, For everyone watching at home, I mean, I'm guessing you are also on ESPN. Is that how you're watching?
Yeah, have
If
to.
you're,
At least in the
huh?
US. At least in the
Yes, if
US.
you're right, exactly. If you're in the US, you're watching the tennis for Grand Slams anyway on ESPN. And I'm going to show you, and I want to know if you do this too, how I keep track of the matches. This might be a lot, so
Okay.
don't judge me. Don't judge. But this is how I'm watching the first week.
Oh, how do you do this?
ESPN Plus, the app. You gotta use the app on the whatever streaming TV service. And I discovered this maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago during the Australian Open, where randomly I was just fooling around with the remote and it was like, would you like to multicast or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
And you can watch, I think they give you the option of 2 up, 3 up, and 4 up. And this is one of the layouts for the 4 up. You can also do a 4 up screen where all the screens are the same size. And I apologize. Most people or half of you guys are just listening to this podcast. Others are watching it on our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching on our YouTube channel. But if you're just listening, what I have pulled up is a picture of 4 different matches happening on the same time on the ESPN Plus app. And it's awesome because you only get sound from one match. So it's like I'll be watching whatever match I want to watch and then whatever 3 other matches that I'm interested in that are up. And if anything crazy starts happening somewhere else, I just click and make the other one bigger,
Right.
and put the sound on that one. So it's something I discovered and it kind of helps me get through the first week. By the second week, the cadence kind of slows down for how many matches are happening at the same time. But man, those first few days,
dude,
it's just one after the other nonstop.
Right. No, there's so much happening the whole day. So that's a good tip because I did not know that. I just kind of go, like the architect, when Neo meets the architect at the end of the Matrix, where it's just a bunch of TVs, just a bunch of devices. That's usually how I do it.
That's how I used to do it before. I would have this, my phone here, the TV there, the other screen there, your computer's up somewhere else.
Yes.
That's how I used to do it before. But then once I discovered that, I was like, well,
that's
this
helpful.
is it. Because I can pay attention really well to 2 matches, but not more than that. So I don't need anything more than the 4 top thing. And that's how I watch qualifying. So if you saw there, those are all the qualifying matches I was watching at the time. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I thought I would share because I didn't know it was a feature of the app until by mistake, I just stumbled on it. So if you didn't know, go check out your app and see if you can multitask because it's really good.
Yeah, I never use the ESPN app outside of the slams, if I'm being honest. That's it. I really should. I was joking with Ian the other day because he's like, oh, I had to resubscribe like a fool. And I was like, well, dude, I'm the fool because I paid the whole year and I used it for a total of maybe 8 weeks. So yeah, you're good.
I'm trying to become better at that. Especially now that, Tennis Channel doesn't have the slams, but Tennis Channel now is now a monthly subscription and it covers everything. So you don't have to have the TV version or the app. It's everything now in one package. And I just need to remember and learn when you're not using it, just unsubscribe. I do it with all sorts of subscriptions though. It's like a year later, I'm like, oh, I guess I could have just for the 4 months that I needed this service. Yep. But okay. Great. So, that was awesome. I thank you for coming on, Tony. Hope we've helped people kind of decide how they're going to attack going to a Grand Slam on day one. Because I know it's always something. Usually when I go with friends, I'm the guide. I'm the one. I'm like, I'm going to make the schedule and they'll just follow me around. It can be overwhelming. I can completely understand how overwhelming it can be on those first few days, especially if you're new to going to these tournaments.
Absolutely. Yeah. Additional tips when you're planning your day, look for the restrooms, look for a place to eat, because it can get out of hand where you're just like a couple sets in, a couple matches in, and you're like, I didn't eat anything yet today. I didn't drink any water. Where's my sunscreen? So yeah, don't forget any of that stuff either.
I mean, thank you, Tony. Those are like the number one thing. One, the sunscreen is usually handed out for free at the door. Take it. People like walk by and they're like, take it. It's a little, it's usually the Rose Rosé. Not sponsored, but we could be. It's free. Pick it up. It will save you. It will save you. You need sunscreen, people. Also, most tournaments, and I would say definitely look at each tournament's website. They usually have a list of what you can bring in or what you can't. A lot of them let you bring in an empty reusable water bottle that you can then fill at the tournament. Please bring it. Don't forget it at home like I do all the time. Bring it. It will save you $12 bottle of water.
Oof,
it will save you some money. So just bring that water bottle. But you're totally right. So a lot of what we do as well is we'll have listeners who go to tournaments like send us voice memos that we play on the podcast about like their experience at different tournaments.
That's
I remember
awesome.
We got one from a tournament in like Hong Kong. I can't remember where it was now. But then I think it was the Korean Open. It was the Korean Open. And one of the first things she said, which at the time she was like, I know this might sound silly, but the first thing I do is find out where the bathroom is. And I was like, girl, that's the most important thing. Where is the bathroom? It will bite you where all of a sudden you're like, where do I go? Now it's packed. It's crowded.
Yep.
Figure out 100%. Where your bathroom's going to be for the tournament.
Yes.
Oh man, Tony, this was so awesome. Now, before we go, a little announcement, I think, from you about a certain podcast called Tennis Today that is coming back.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Ian and I, also on Instagram as 40 Love, we were at it pretty well for the most part of last year, but we both got kind of busy. It fell off, but we're going to try to get back on it. We are recording our episode tomorrow. So that should be back and up and running very soon. So thank you for letting me plug. And thank you for having me on. This was so much fun. I'm happy we were finally able to make it happen and looking forward to doing it again, hopefully soon.
No, totally. Always. I love potting with you and Ian. And I will put all the links down below to Balance Tennis and to Tennis Today so that you guys can check it out. Because when I'm feeling down, I just pull up Balance Tennis and I'm like, how?
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
It's like you hit it with the music and the imagery. And I'm like, that's how I feel right now.
Thank you. It's a lot of it is just a stream of consciousness of this is how I feel. This is it. I'm sending it out there. I used to be kind of shy about like, well, I don't know, but I've learned to just put it out there because it always hits with someone. So thank you.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it always does hit with someone. So thank you so much, Tony, for coming over. For Ground Passers, hey guys, it's Grand Slam season, so we will be coming to you more regularly. We have a new episode coming up next week, Monday, which will be sort of Nick and I's review of the first few days of the tournament. What's happened? Who's been upset? Who hasn't been upset? Who's playing well? Who looks good? Maybe we'll get some voice notes from some fans who can tell us what it is like on the grounds. Also, we will be going back to our watch list. We might switch it up a little bit this time around. But as you know, we always put out a watch list every single day of a Grand Slam as to what matches we're watching that might interest you. If you want to just go by our watch list, we always try and pick the fun ones, like always. So yeah, we will be putting those out on our social media everywhere, every day. And if you saw that my lights came on, that just means it's time to go. It is time.
Nice.
I don't know. Those are my grow lights in the back for my plant. So you might have seen those come on, which is our cue to wrap it up. But thank you again, Tony. And for all of our Grand Passers, bye.
Bye.